I want you to listen, and not just with your ears, but with your whole self. There is a simple, stubborn truth I have learned. Nothing of lasting value ever comes without risk. Not one thing. It's tempting to believe otherwise, to think that comfort and careful planning will keep us safe, that safety equals success. But that is a lie we tell ourselves to avoid. The hard work and the sharp edges of growth. If you want to live a life that matters, you must be willing to lean into discomfort, to step into uncertainty, and to welcome the possibility of failure. Because failure is often the tuition we pay for a better future. Too many people are trained to play small. From childhood we hear the rules. Be careful, don't stand out, don't upset people. Make sure you have something to fall back on. Parents, teachers, mentors with good intentions will whisper the same advice. Build a safety net, have a backup, prepare for plan B. But I want to offer a different idea. If you are going to fall forward. Don't fall backward into a life you didn't want, a life pre-approved by fear. Fall forward toward the things you love, toward experiment and discovery, toward work that wakes you up at 3 in the morning, because those are the places where passion lives, and where impact is born. When you fall forward, you at least see what you hit, and you can learn from the impact. Consistency matters. Discipline matters, but they are not substitutes for courage. You must show up day after day, with small rituals, with steady effort, and with the stubborn patience of someone who knows that mastery is earned slowly. Equally, you must choose boldly. Don't be afraid to love big, to dream in color, to choose a path that other people will call risky. The world's great changes were not made by playing it safe. They were made by people who dared, who failed, who stood up and moved again. They drew beyond the margins. They connected dots that seemed unrelated, and they refused to accept the limits other people had drawn for them. There is a puzzle, a simple exercise, that teaches something important. 9 dots in a square, each a point that must be connected with 4 straight lines, without lifting your pen. Most people fail at first because they try to solve it from inside the box. The solution requires that you imagine outside the frame, and literally draw beyond the apparent borders. That puzzle is a metaphor for your life. If you restrict yourself to what seems possible, you will never discover the edge of what is possible for you. Stretch the lines of your life. Push them out, test the boundary, and when you do, new connections will appear that were invisible before. Dreams are powerful, but dreams need scaffolding. A dream without a plan is an idea that will drift on the wind. So write down your dream, then break it into goals, then break the goals into next actions. Measure progress, celebrate small wins, and have the humility to adjust the plan when reality disagrees with your assumptions. Success is rarely a single dramatic leap. It is typically 1,000 small steps in the same direction. Reggie Jackson, a slugger's legend, struck out more than any other player in baseball history. Yet the headlines remember his home run. Thomas Edison, with hundreds of failed experiments, only receives credit for the idea that finally worked. They failed, they adjusted, they kept swinging, and in the process they created legacies. You will fail. Let's be honest about that. Failure is not a possibility. It is a probability. You will have days when your best is not good enough, when your work is rejected, when critics are loud and your confidence is quiet. Those moments are not verdicts on your worth. They are data. Use them to refine, not to retreat. When I began my career, I auditioned, and was told no more times than I could count. I did not stop. I did not retreat to a predictable life simply because the road was rough. I continued to take chances, to put myself on the line, to learn from the no's, and eventually, the yeses came. Sometimes years later you will find yourself on the very stage where you were once turned away. Proof that persistence, guided by learning, has a strange way of looping fate in your favor. Consider the image of a life lived without trying. A person lying on their deathbed, surrounded by the silent shapes of unfulfilled possibility. The songs not sung, the books not written, the conversations not had, the kindnesses not offered. Those shapes are not imaginary. They are the cost of an untested life. Imagine the regret in their eyes, a quiet disappointment, and then ask yourself a hard question. Which of those ghosts will stand beside you when your time comes? That question is neither meant to scare nor to shame you. It is meant to clarify what you value, to sharpen what you are willing to risk for what matters. The world needs your contribution in whatever form that takes. Maybe you are a scientist who will solve a tiny piece of a large puzzle. Maybe you are a nurse who will hold a hand and change the course of a family's day. Maybe you are an entrepreneur whose ideas will create livelihoods. Maybe you are an artist who will translate pain into beauty. The size of your bank account does not determine the size of your impact. Often the most important work is the slow kind. Showing up, showing care, practicing your craft, and refusing to shrink in the presence of difficulty. Give what you have: time, talent, love, energy, and watch how that sum grows into something larger than you expect. Sometimes failure reroutes you towards something better. The crooked path is not a punishment. It is often a redirection. I started college with a plan to become a doctor. That plan did not survive my first few classes. I tried law and journalism and plenty of experiments that did not stick. At one point my grades were so poor that the university advised I take time away. I was 20. I was uncertain, and I felt like a misfit. Then a small, surprising moment. A stranger in a quiet place told me that I would travel and speak to people all over the world. At the time, it felt impossible. Years later, that promise unfolded in ways I could not have scheduled, and I realized that the detours had been preparation, not punishment. When you face crossroads, ask good questions. What do I want to learn here? What skill is this situation teaching me? Who am I becoming because of this struggle? These questions orient you toward growth, and they build a muscle for curiosity, which is one of the most valuable competencies in a changing world. Become a student of your own life. Take notes, record what works, and what doesn't. Build a practice of reflection and then of action. Most people don't do this. They drift, they react, and then they wonder why the future looks similar to the past. You do not have to be most people. Here are practical steps you can start today. First, pick one risky but meaningful action you have been avoiding, and commit to doing it in the next 7 days. Second, write a simple plan. Small steps that move you toward that action. Third, find an accountability partner, a friend, a mentor, a trustworthy person who will ask you how it's going. Fourth, fail publicly in small ways. Learn quickly and share the lesson. When you normalize small failures, the big ones lose their paralyzing power. Fifth, practice gratitude for the attempt, irrespective of the outcome. The attempt is itself a brave thing to celebrate. Beyond these steps, cultivate small daily disciplines that accumulate into extraordinary results. Wake up and write for 15 minutes, even if it feels pointless. Practice your craft for 30 minutes, consistently, even when inspiration is absent. Make 3 meaningful connections each week. Send a note, ask a question, offer help, because networks are built by small acts of attention. Create a ritual that signals to your brain, we are working now. Habits, even modest ones, compound into momentum, and momentum is what carries you through the inevitable valleys. Seek mentors, and become a mentor. There is power in community, in people who will tell you the truth, who will hold you to your commitments, and who will celebrate your progress. Mentorship is not only about receiving, it is about giving back, paying forward, and building the kind of culture you yourself want to be part of. When you teach someone else, you clarify your own thinking, and you gain resilience through service. Surround yourself with people who make you better, and distance yourself politely from voices that drain you of courage. Try a simple visualization. Imagine 5 years from now. Picture a morning in the life you want. What does the air feel like? Who is with you? What work are you doing? Then write down the opposite. What would it look like if nothing changed? Compare the 2 images and identify the gap. The gap is not a threat. It is an invitation. Choose one habit that will begin to close that gap. Start small, be consistent, and celebrate incremental wins. The mind responds to repeated signals, and when you give it repeated signals of possibility, it begins to open pathways you thought were closed. I am not asking you to be reckless. I am asking you to be courageous, to be curious, and to be consistent. Measure, prepare, test, and then lean into the experiment. Fail fast, learn faster, iterate, and keep moving. Life rewards those who act, not merely those who plan. The people who change the world are not the ones who predict the weather perfectly. They are the ones who step into it anyway, with boots on and hands ready to build shelter for others. So here is my invitation, my challenge, and my blessing. Fall forward. Take the risk that makes your heart beat faster. Say the hard thing. Apply for the job even though you think you might not get it. Start that project. Even if you're terrified it will fail. Make the call that could change a life. When you fall, take note of the lesson, and then stand up, with patience, with humility,
and with the fierce determination to try again. Keep your hands busy, your mind flexible, and your heart open. Repeat this with me out loud, or in the silence of your day. I will fall forward. Say it again. I will fall forward. Say it one more time. I will fall forward. Let it be your compass. Let it be your permission slip to try. And let it be the steady rhythm that guides your days. The world needs what you have, and the only way it gets here is through your brave attempt. Fall forward, again and again, and watch how, over time, the scaffolding of your failures becomes the architecture of a remarkable life.